Hello, people. Good morning. It's Wednesday. It's the midweek vibes with Maxine. Trust we are all doing fine. Initially, the weather wanted to misbehave, but it's clear now, and I am excited to be in the studio. And it's always a pleasure coming your way. Good morning once again, and thank you so much for connecting with us. It's Random Thoughts with Maxine, and I'm here in the studio. So this morning, I just went back memory lane again. You know how the mind is. It always has a way of opening certain folders at every point in your life. Then my mind went back to 1998 to 1999. This was a period when I was in JHS. And my offense that Thursday morning, I remember vividly, was to punish a junior who was then was JSS 1. And her offense was that she defied some instructions that was given by another senior on duty. So I had to intervene and then do the needful. One, I intervened because then I was a girls' school prefect. Okay, and I had authority to straighten people up by making sure that it was within the permitted rules. So that was what happened. So I quickly called this young girl to order, and the truth of the matter is I'm still petite. Then I was very small in terms of stature, and this lady, I remember so well, was well built, grown. She had come from a neighboring school around the environs. And the first time she started school at our place as a newcomer, we have already heard a lot about her. That she was troublesome, she was no nonsense, she would break every single rule. And so when I asked her to kneel down for defying the orders of that senior on duty, I knew partially I was in trouble. But you know what? You have to do what you have to do. So, growing up in Newtown, I didn't give a hoot. I'm like, okay, you defy orders, you are punished accordingly. It was around closing that I overheard some genius talking amongst themselves. And what was the issue? That the girl said she was going to give me some beatings. So, being the Maxine I was, being girls' school prefect, I wasn't perturbed. But I started losing my confidence when I had closed from school with my bag behind me and I saw her following me. She followed me all the way from Peny, that was where my JHS was, to my house at Agbajena town. And she was just not following me, she was raining insults behind me. And the insults were threats. One, I'm going to beat you. You think you are who? How can you punish me? You can't go scot-free. And she constantly, for the next, I don't know, the minutes that it took for me to walk from Peny, which is a car price, to my house at Agbajena. But between that period, this girl was constantly behind me, threatening me, insulting me, doing all the things that would shake someone. And you know what I did? I don't know if it was wisdom then, but I think I was afraid. Because as I said, she was far advanced in age. She was more well-built than myself in terms of stature and all that. And people kept asking, Nenya no kasano. Then I was like, no, I'm still going to keep my cool, calm and collected. I wasn't going to utter a word. As I said, I was afraid because personally, I am not the fighting type. And I was sure that even if I was the fighting type, I would have lost that battle. I would have lost that fight. Because it was obvious that that lady had well developed her acts when it comes to fighting. So it was a no way to venture or start something. She would have given me a sound beating. And you know that thing that they say, oh, if you like, say fin. I couldn't have said fin, even if I had that gut or I had that strength. In my head, I was just praying that What if we get to a point and she decides to go back? What would even inform her decision to go back? Because trust you me, she was bent on taking me to the house. And there was one thing she said that kept ringing in my house, that me mbu school, me bu fie. And she meant business. And I remember that incident very well. It's still clear in my mind. So we got home, and she said with such audacity that you go and put your school bag down and come and face me. And I was like, wow. I went inside our house, closed the door, and never came out. I could see her through our windows. So I just saw her waiting patiently to start a fight in my... This is home match. We're going to do home, not away. Wanted to beat me, give me a sound beating in front of everybody in my house. And I stood in the room, locked the door for some few minutes, and she left. It came with such a sigh of relief. I don't know why she didn't give me that beatings. But as I said, in the midst of she raining insults and all that, one, I knew who I was. I knew I was a girls' school prefect. I knew I wielded power. And in my room, I said, okay, she'll meet me on Friday. It was a Thursday. And what even worsened my case was that I made her kneel in front of her genius during morning assembly. She felt it was demeaning. She felt that I could have used another option of punishment than making her kneel before her genius. And as I said in the beginning, she was well known, very notorious girl. All those who had sat in class with her in her previous class could attest to the fact that that girl was trouble. Fast forward, Friday morning, it was a Thursday, so Friday morning, I got to school very early, and then I quickly went to the headmaster's office, and I officially reported the incident. I gave him the reasons for my action, that she had defied the orders of a senior on duty, and so I had to intervene. And you know what my headmaster said? Said, call me that girl. It was as simple as that. So I asked one of her classmates to call her to the headmaster's office. And then she came to the headmaster's office, and the headmaster decided to compare the story that I told him with hers. So the questioning went like, what happened yesterday after school? Did she punish you? Her answer was yes. What did you do? She stated it. Why did you follow her to her house? She was quiet. And then the headmaster said, okay, if you had that energy and that strength to follow not only your senior, but your girls' school prefect to her house, just to put her in her place because she corrected you, then you do not have respect for me as your headmaster. Because being a prefect meant that you represented your headmaster, you represented authority, and you represented all the teachers. So if you defy the orders of even a senior on duty, and even a girls' school prefect, your girls' school prefect, then it means that you do not respect my authority as your headmaster. It was such a spectacle. A gamma would say, so the same form of punishment I gave her, which was in front of her genius, this time it was in front of everybody because it was a morning assembly. I don't remember how many lashes she was given, but I knew it was a lot. And in my head, I wasn't afraid she was going to come back with another fight, because I knew that she has been put in her rightful place. On that note of being put on a rightful place or her right place, we'll take a quick commercial break and we'll continue from where we left off. Please stay tuned. This is RT with the Zine. I'll be right back. Also, on that note where my headmaster decided to put her in her place, I wasn't afraid again that she was going to come back with another fight, because I remember so well. I don't remember the exact lashes she took that morning, but I knew that whoever she wasn't going to repeat such an incident, and that settles the matter. You are listening to me right now and you are asking, how was I able to keep my calm and entertain all those insults from my school till we got to my house? Personally, one of the best gifts my dad gave me as a young girl was to remain confident. And I still am happy about that fact. I don't know why he consciously inculcated that in us. He will tell you things like, we are all human beings. Do not be afraid of people. When somebody says something and you do not like it, tell them in a nice way. Don't let anyone intimidate you. So at a very early stage of my life, I wasn't intimidated. And you know, the lessons that we get from childhood will become necessary along the lines when we grow up. Okay. So that was one of my high points then, that I was nurtured to be a confident girl and I knew who I was. Even with that incident, I knew that this girl cannot cross certain lines because I was a girls' school prefect. Hello. I was GP. And GP had to do GP things. And I did. Without fear. Then I knew her. I've heard stories. She has given us wahala in our school. But I knew that if it's time to put you in your right place, I'll do so. I won't slack. But you see, as you grow, life has a way of putting you down. It does. You forget all the confidence lessons you had acquired growing up. And I was listening to someone speak yesterday on YouTube, and the person likened confidence to a balloon that has been inflated. And the person said that we are all like balloons. That is how she would want to liken our confidence, a balloon that is inflated. At every point in time, life will throw something at you and a little air will come out of that balloon and it will make you slow. So as I speak now, there have been life occurrences that has slowed me, that has intimidated me, that had made me doubt myself. I knew I was confident, but at a point I doubted whether or not I was still a confident girl because of what life threw at me at a certain point in time. This morning, I am talking about all these childhood experiences because, one, I feel led to talk to someone. That intimidation exists. People intimidate us day in, day out. People intimidate us with their riches, with their monies, with their academic achievements, with their societal status and all that. But it does not change who God has made us to be. I knew who I was. Minus the fact that I was a girls' school prefect at that tender age, I knew I was a child of God. And I knew that the Lord had set me apart and had inculcated in me and had woven me with talent and abilities. But life had a way of making me forget who I was. You are listening to me right now and you feel very intimidated. Someone in your office is intimidating you. They are not giving you rest. You go for that meeting, you speak, and it's like you have said nonsense. And you don't even want to speak again. You are in that class with those group of people. And they intimidate you because of the grace they are getting, and you are not getting same. And you are doubting your worth. You are in that marriage, and your own husband is intimidating you. Because once upon a time, You all had degrees, and he had climbed the academic ladder, and he now has a PhD, and he wants to rubbish your first degree. You are with that group of friends who are earning much and are intimidating you with their dollar accounts and the investments they have made, and you can't say a thing. You are with that group of friends who have children, and they go on and on telling you how smart their kids are, and you can't even say a thing about yours because you know your little boy is struggling with writing ABCD. That's intimidation. It is real. And every day, every hour, every minute, there'll be somebody who will not make you feel worthy. There'll be somebody who will make you want to downplay your own worth just because you have not risen to their level. And I got to that point. One morning I got to the office. Just when I was about to settle in, one of my colleagues just came and said, Maxine, oh relax, maybe sawasem kakra. And I was like, oh shoot. It's like, were you ever bullied going to school? Did somebody bully you? Then I just paused for a few minutes. I didn't know why she asked that question. And I was like, no. And to be very honest, I never got bullied in school because, to the glory of God, I was one of the smartest in the class. And you know, usually people bully you with their intelligence. Yes. So you can't bully me with intelligence. When it comes to leadership, I was school prefect. You can't bully me. And it was the same with myself and Maxima. Even amongst us as twins, there was a competition. Maxima cannot get a 97 and I'll get 84. No way. We're close marking each other. So I never felt any sense of bullying. I could stand up for myself. But just when I was about to finish JHS, I had left our kid sister in the school, and she wasn't as smart as we are, and she would constantly come and tell you about people who were bullying her in class. And you know, with the power and authority that you wielded as girls' school prefect, I'll go to that class and put that boy in his place. But guess what? Later in life, I went to school to do an LLB, and people bullied me because I was learning with some group of people who thought they were smarter than me. And the first reason why I got intimidated, and I just like the balloon analogy I gave you, my air started diminishing, was just because for our very first exams, I had a D, which is a referral. And the D referral is something I have never had in my own educational life. No, I don't get a D. And I checked. I went to the lecture. I said, Madam, my results are in. I had a D. A D is a reset. She's like, do you know that? I said, yes, Madam. I'm like, Madam, this is not my results. She said, did you do the assignment? I said, I did. Did you do your mid semester? I said, I did. There was something wrong. Then I checked from the internet. This is where we check our results. Then I looked at the score. It was 49. I just needed a 150 to make a C. And I was hurt. I was broken. Then you know how it is when you learn in groups. Everybody knows everybody's index number. And when we go for group discussion, they are just talking about it. And how can people get a D? This course is, and the course was legal writing. Legal writing is not difficult. It's just like doing English. And I didn't know why I should get a referral in legal writing. And that started breaking me. It broke me. It broke me. I lost my confidence. It broke me. I felt I wasn't smart anymore. And when I see people and they're like, Maxine, you are reading law again, I said yes. Like, and I said, and I'm like, and I was honest about it. Because at that point, I was broken. I couldn't even trust myself. I wasn't talking in class. When I go for this group discussion, the people had suppressed me. They had suppressed me with their ace. They had suppressed me with, oh, we read, and my father is a lawyer, and my judge, my friend who is a judge, they suppressed me. Just one more, they suppressed me. They took the air out of my balloon. It's until recently that I realized that it was intimidation. Because you know what? There are times you don't even You are not even aware of the things you have. And other people will set the standard so that you look at them and feel you are not worth it. But even in the midst of not making their grace, I think there was something they saw about me. And so they were using the grace that they were getting to bully me. I wasn't getting bad grace, but I wasn't getting the ace they were getting. And so it felt like they were better than me. And constantly I kept telling myself, me need my bone. And when people talk to us, hey, you were smart, then I'm like, no, now dear, and I was making excuses for something that was still in me. I was smart. And that was the situation. You are listening to me right now, and there's so much intimidation. Sometimes you don't even acknowledge or realize that's the dangerous part, that people are intimidating you. Oh yeah, kasana or kasabi, that's intimidation. When we are talking about people with money, that's intimidation. Now I understand it when they say there's a family funeral and they only listen to those who are rich, because the poor do not have anything to offer. Even it's intimidation. When you meet as a family for reunions and there are people that they will mention their names, they won't mention your name, because there is a standard somebody is trying to make you fit in. Once you don't fit in, you are done. Why would we allow people to intimidate us? It's simple. It's because we have forgotten our worth. That 1, we are children of God. That 2, we are not useless. That 3, we are chosen people, that the Lord himself has destined great things for us. This morning, I'm here to encourage. This is just a bit of me and the things I went through that got me all diminished. Yes, that's the word. Diminished. And I'm not saying that as I sit here, I have conquered the battle with intimidation. It will come in different forms. But this morning, just realize your worth. That 1, you're a child of God. That there is something in you, that it is not the prevailing circumstances that determines who you are, but it is how God sees you. It doesn't matter how many times you have failed. I got a D and it broke me. But I went back to school again. I was getting A's and I said, so scared. I'm back. It takes the renewal of your mind. It takes you knowing that it doesn't matter. All that matters is that it is time to rewrite your story again. You have allowed that office colleague to intimidate you with the things they have. You have allowed that boss to say things to you. They have been loose with their words. They have said things that has caught you like deep within you, and it has come to stay, and they are happy when they see you diminish. It's time to rise above that level. And I go to my boss's office and he says something, and because I don't want him to talk plenty, I apologize. I say I'm sorry, it's okay. We have apologized for things that we are not even supposed to have apologized for, because we're intimidated. And we have said sorry, and we have demeaned and diminished our value as children of God. It is time to start looking at people like, 1, they are human beings. 2, they have flaws. Those bosses who are intimidating you and are still intimidating you, your office colleagues who are calling the shot and are making you feel like you are not worth it, have insecurities. And sometimes they see the things you have. Maybe in the group, you are not the richest, but you are the life to the party. When you are not there, nothing happens. Can you just look at that one? Maybe you are just favored. You don't have to talk plenty. Send this guy to this place. He will get it sorted and he will bring results. And that is it. And so they look at the things that makes you unique, and they rub what they have in your face so that you don't even know what you have. It's time for somebody to start waking up and start rewriting your story. There are stories that we have said about ourselves that is not nice. Like the way you watch all those soap operas and you're able to say that, oh, I wish it ended like this. Can you just sit back again and write your own story? For the many times you have been intimidated, look to that person and say, enough. You've had your failed day. I am in charge now. Because when you speak like this, it's not like there has to be an overhauling. Overhaul your mind and your system what your parents said, how your parents even compared you to your other siblings. Overhaul the whole system and start thinking like a child of God. Know who you are. And I read the story about David and Goliath. I don't know why I read that story this morning, but it spoke to me. David was a shepherd boy. But when he went to the field, he knew he was in charge. I don't know what made him ask those questions. But he knew the kind of God who was with him. And it's time to know the kind of God who is with you. Your God is not limited. Your God will give you victories. I mean, he has already given you victory on the cross. So it is time for you to reflect those victories. Your God is not sitting down for you to lose those victories for people to laugh at you. No way. Your God has won victory for you. And the Lord expects, and David won victory. Not because he was just a shepherd boy, but because he knew who was with him. And he was confident about it. And Goliath made all the show off. He said things. He said, I will give your flesh to the best of the earth. And David knew that this was his time because he knew the faith he had in his God. Do you have faith in the one who has called you? Victory is yours. Rewrite the story again. It took me one time to just look at my life again. I was telling Maxima about it. That I don't care what those people I sat in class thought of me then. But this is a new Maxine. Bring it on. People are constantly bringing out the air in your balloons because they know your words. And unfortunately, you don't know your words. But I came to announce this morning. You are a chosen people. You are meant to do exploits for the Lord. You are meant to make victories happen. You are meant to redeem your family. You are meant to change that workplace environment. You are meant to stand out. You are meant to speak to somebody some truth. You are meant to speak to some authority so that the person gets back on track. Do not let anyone intimidate you. Enough of the intimidation. Because whatever it is, it doesn't matter how low you have sunk. And you are listening and thinking, you there, you don't know. I know. I have been there before. And I remember there was this time we had a test in class. And just when the man said, it was an impromptu test, just when the man said, take pieces of paper in your bags. We are going to have a test. We all started grumbling. And my friend who was getting all the A's stood by me. She was sitting close to me. And know how we do it in primary school? She just took a full scar sheet, wrote her index number. The question had not even been projected and she was giggling. She just looked at me and she would giggle. And I felt down. That, hey, probably she's thinking, then impromptu. Then when I sat down and the man projected the paper, just when she wrote her index number, you know how we do in primary school, who copy me? She had not written anything, no. Then she just folded the paper in an index number. And I'm like, God, show your power. For 5 minutes, I wasn't writing anything. I was just looking at the question. I remember very well, it was commercial law. And I was just looking at the question. I'm like, God, Holy Spirit, give me understanding. Then I just looked at the question and I wrote. And we had 2 classes, A and B. We had 2 classes, A and B. So we wrote. And after that, you know how it is when you write exams. People commented, hey, wait, DSM. So in 2 weeks, the man was not bringing the papers. Just one evening, he's like, okay, I'm done marking. It's time for you to take your papers. And then, typical of him, he will tell you what you didn't do right, who had the highest score, and what he thinks you should do the next time he gives you a question of that sort. And he said all things. He said the highest was a 2.5/5. And the highest was for both classes. And the person is in your class. And he went on. I remember very well. He said, and I like the person's handwriting. I think it should be a girl. And I liked how she answered the question. And I kept quiet. I didn't think it was me. Because when the masters are beside me, who are you? You cannot shine. So we just sat down. We all started taking our papers. She went for hers first. And I think from her demeanor, I could sense she was all excited because, when they are calling the dons, she's part. And she brought her paper. And she just folded it and now we all know the highest is 2.5. So if you get anything below, you are not the highest. Folded the paper in her bag and kept quiet. Then I went for mine. Obviously, I was expecting 1 or something. Then when I picked my paper, I just saw 2.5/5. Very good. I just looked at it again and I put it in my bag. Then she was like, Max, what you are saying? And I just put it down. For 2 weeks, this girl didn't talk to me. She was the one who was giving me ride home. She was. And by the time I realized the news has spread in all the class that it was 2.5, guess what people said? Oh, Chaloto Netomu. Then I knew it. That was the only time that I started regaining my confidence back. That if I could get a 2.5 for an impromptu and an unprepared paper, and I could get such remarks, the devil was playing with my mind. And he had played with it for long. And now I sit here and I'm not even proud of the class I graduated with. But I look at all these instances and I am like, God, you speak to your children and you make us see you for who you are. This morning, can you just see God for who he is? Can you look at that situation that is intimidating you? Because trust you me, intimidation is all around us. Can you rewrite that story? That thing that JHS teacher, primary school teacher said about you, that is still haunting you. You won't amount to anything. You won't get a well-paying job. All those things, whether be it internal, start fighting the wars internally. Fight those foes. The foes are in your mind and you can't do it. And this was said about you. The intimidation exists in your very self. Fight it. Intimidation will deter you from becoming all that God has designed for you. It deterred me. I couldn't speak in class. I was okay with my C's and B's and B minuses. I wasn't looking forward to getting an A because I knew I wasn't cut out for an A. But later on in life, when I went back to school, the Lord told me that, you see, you are getting A's again. You allowed people to diminish you. And as it stands now, people still will diminish me. They are. I remember I told a friend I had started this on radio. It's like, hey, I know you're a radio presenter. Like, don't worry. Say things. And people would encourage and say things. But you see, I have come to a point, and it's full knowledge and it's revelation. It's not just like you sitting down. You come to a point. And yesterday I just thought about it. And then many times I have said I wasn't smart and I cried. I said, God, forgive me. Forgive me for thinking this about myself. Because I sank so low that I didn't have vim. I didn't have vim again. And you are listening to me and you have sunk low. And you don't have vim. You don't have vigor to make it. See, I rose. Rise again. I am a child of God. I can do all that God says I can do. That is the portion of God for my life. Rise again. Enough of the pity party. People will hear your stories and they will laugh behind your back. Rise up again and take hold of that situation. If it means that office environment that has been intimidating you, those people who are the movers and shakers, when they speak final, when you speak zero, start speaking some things into that atmosphere. Speak. You have what it takes to change that situation. Intimidation is not of God. And he will say, I have not given a spirit of timidity. I have not. because he knows that on this earth there will be giants, there will be people. And Goliath stood before the Israelites for days, singing the same song. And he says, I have not. And God is not happy when we are timid. He's not happy when we allow people to trample on us. He's not happy when we look less of ourselves. Rewrite your story this morning. Write it again. Write it so that it reflects that you are not a victim and you are a victor. Write it so that it suits that particular situation that you have been envisaging. Write it. Now, I speak now because I have gone through the mill. I know what it is to be down. And in all these experiences, the Lord makes you better. And this is what we do on the show. My thoughts are things that over the period I have learned from. And I can share and say, this was me in the past. Can we get going? Because as everyday people, we make things happen. Life will throw challenges at us. And Deuteronomy chapter 31 verse 6 will say, be strong, take courage, don't be intimidated. Don't give a second thought, because God, your God, is striding ahead of you. He's right there with you. He won't let you down. He won't leave you alone. Let this quotation be your motivation. Anytime you are intimidated, be it physically, mentally, spiritually, people are bragging, flaunting things in your face, know that the Lord said, don't be intimidated because I am ahead of you. And we are going to win the battle every single day over intimidation. Know that intimidation deter you from becoming all that God has designed you to be. The Christian is not meant to stand upon his Goliath and allow his Goliath to defeat him. It's the reverse. You are supposed to stand on that issue. Goliath did not stand on David. David stood on Goliath. And that is what your portion is. You are meant to stand upon your Goliath and not the reverse and not the vice versa. So it's time to stand up. Those Goliaths, it's time to acknowledge them. Those Goliaths that has been troubling your mind, acknowledge them and stand on them. Because you are a child of God, you have power, you have been set apart, you are royal, you are beautiful, and you are smart. My name is Maxine Misode. I'm still on the journey of becoming a better person. I am fighting the struggles with intimidation. I am still on the road to becoming better. But I woke up one morning and realized that there are things that I have that people will not even make me realize it, and will look at the things that I do not have and feel down. I am getting better. You can get better. I am getting stronger. You can get stronger, because at the end of the day, the matter is settled. He said he is before you. Do not be intimidated. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for connecting with us this morning. I only came this morning to encourage. Be encouraged. You can win that battle over that intimidation. It is not worth being timid. There is so much in you. Know who you are. Know who you are. Know who God has designed and destined you to be. And you win every battle because He is with you. Do not be intimidated. The Lord is with us. Thank you so much, and I'm out of here. Bye.
You live on Peny Radio, your number one online Christian radio station.